Hey, everybody, welcome to our weekly Hangout with Guy time. I'm Chris Pugh, got Guy Vogrum with me. Guy, how's it going today?
All right, we're doing a little bit different. We have like early evening version tonight, and I'm in the comfort of my home in Cortland, Ohio. So I'm not in the office or the courthouse in Warren. So be a little different today, and hopefully we have a good show. Had a nice weekend, holiday weekend with picnics and other things,
Yeah,
family type things.
uh, very good. Well, hang on a second, Guy. Tell me a little bit more about your weekend. I'll be right back.
Okay. Yeah, we had a picnic. My son has got a new home in Brookfield, Ohio, which is on the eastern side of Trumbull County, and he's got some chickens. So we kind of enjoyed, sat out on the porch in the sun. Nice wet weather day, weather-wise on Memorial Day. We went to the memorial service at the Brookfield Cemetery, honored the our fallen heroes, and then we had a nice grilling time and watching the chickens.
Great. Well, hey, thanks for your patience. Taking care of kids. That's the other thing with me. Usually when we record, it's just you and me. Now
Right.
my 18-year-old was wanting something, so it's always something. So, all right. Well, let's start talking about some of the things happening. I've been off today and yesterday, but down in my neck of the woods, we had a police shooting, and sadly, a deputy in Morrow County, which is right north of Columbus, died. Sad situation. It's always sad when these things happen. Um, you know, again, look, tons of coverage. We're kind of what we do here is we react to the news. We're not, reporting as a podcast. But
Right.
guy, I wanted to take some time because, and again, I haven't since I've been off. I haven't been able to personally report on this, but I've had some experiences in the past. I was going to share my experience. You could share yours. I think some
Right.
people out there are always like, "Huh, I wonder what happens when journalists hear about this. How do they
Yeah,
do
I'm
what they
familiar
do?"
with the area, Morrow County. It's in south of Mansfield in the Mount Gilead area. My wife has several relatives that live in that area. And as a matter of fact, her uncle, who's now passed on, was a reserve deputy in Morrow County. So our heart goes out to the victim, a 31-year-old, and his parents. It, I heard my brother, being in law enforcement, says the hardest calls to answer are those domestic
Yeah.
disturbances, and because you kind of like the third person in the middle of it, and both sides kind of blame you, and it looks like that's what exactly happened on Memorial Day.
Yeah, it brings more thought to kind of the whole Memorial Day, thinking of, people who give their life in service. I know Memorial Day is more specifically for, military veterans, but still, I would
First
kind of
responders,
classify
yeah.
first responders as part of that whole thing too. So it just kind of makes you think. I don't know. I've covered a couple. I think the closest police stuff I covered, um, man, maybe 20 years ago. Jeez, guy, we're all getting old here.
Yeah.
Over in Maslin, I was in the newsroom, heard outside what we thought sounded like fireworks, but we looked outside. We heard the awful sound on the what do you call it? The scanner that said
Right.
officer down.
Police
And when
scanner.
you heard that, you're like, oh. Usually, officer down obviously means officer got shot. Probably 2 blocks away from the paper, there was a shootout. Officer died. Um, I was 2 days later. I was kind of copying that first day, but 2 days later, I covered the main story, and man, there was so much angles to cover. My dad was a chaplain at the time, so my dad was actually helping minister to the police, from a chaplain role.
Sure.
But he had to talk the police chief out to talk to me because the last thing sometimes police want to do is talk to the media. Not and sometimes police get upset with the media, but I think this was more of a we talk about journalists. You talk to people in the worst day of their lives. Well,
Right.
they lost one of their brethren, and that made it tough. I think the hardest thing too, and man, I don't
And
even know if I
usually there's not much to say when you're in
yeah,
that situation. What can you say really, other than some niceties about the person, and your how bad you feel for his family.
Well, and what made it worse, and I'm not even sure if I told you the story or not. We've talked a lot about it over the years, but there was a group, the guy that killed the officer, and the guy got killed in the gunfight. So the shooter of the officer died in the fight too. But this guy was a constitutionalist, kind of like an anti-government and everything
Right.
else. We we did a couple stories, and when we say we, I'm talking about myself. I actually interviewed some of his friends that were part of the constitutionalist group. And, it was crazy because they weren't like, yay, he killed him. But it was like, oh, we feel bad what happened, but these things have to happen. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Yeah.
it
In the
was,
name of the revolution.
yeah, it was wild. We were
Right.
publishing the stories because it was journalism. But, Massillon's a small town. And, the police department got upset because they kept feeding me information. I had 2 or 3 days of stories. That group actually met at a local Denny's. And they were like, oh, we meet every Tuesday. We're going to be there on Tuesday. So I published that meeting. And, I talked to the editor. I'm like, hey, we're going to go down and cover it. And it was crazy.
Oh, I bet.
Denny's kicked me out as soon as the guy in saying, how dare you? And I found out in my reporting later that night, the local police department, it was actually in a neighboring community, not in Massillon, but
Uh-huh.
there was threats against the Denny's. And the police chief at the time in the one area was telling me, yeah, it wasn't just from people who were upset, it was police officers that were threatening the Denny's. So, yeah, it was some crazy times. I mean, and thankfully nothing happened, but I could have probably found myself in the middle of trouble, with threats and everything. And I just walked to the door and it said, "Oh, you're the reporter. Get the heck out of here. We don't want you around
Yeah,
anymore."
that's the other thing. Only you feel like the police officer in a domestic dispute
Mhm.
when you guys are, the public can't do without us, but at times they don't want us around uh, in these other times too. So we are off as journalists are often put into a hot spot too, and my heart goes out to those people trying to, get the facts straight and just provide a service for the public. I remember the last time I covered an officer being killed in the line of duty, it was in the city of Girard, which is in southern Trumbull County. And it was an officer, pretty popular officer. Again, one just like this one, did not have a family of his own. He had a mom and dad. He was the only child, and the mother and father were in education, were popular, and the officer was a popular guy who was uh, kind of good with the kids in Girard, and he was shot and killed on the front porch by a man who was in the middle of a domestic dispute. And it was a Saturday night, I remember, and the mayor of Girard had to confirm that the officer had died, and we got that confirmation from him. And we went with the banner headlines, and then later I remember covering the memorial service, the funeral, because it was moved to Beagley Center on the campus of YSU because of the crowd. There was like more than 10,000 people there for the funeral, and that's it, as it will be for this deputy in Morrow County. All of Ohio's law enforcement will turn out to honor this fallen hero, this fallen first responder, and that'll be something to see. Um, and then another time, I remember in 2007, an officer in the city of Youngstown was gunned down during a traffic stop at around midnight, right in the central business district, and the person got away. So there was kind of a tense manhunt for him the following day, and we kind of followed that up. And the officers, being high strung, were kind of uh, closed, tight lipped. Until that man was captured, and he ultimately did get captured, and I believe he did die in prison. So that
Yeah.
the officer shooter actually uh, succumbed in violence himself. So those were
And,
the two times I remember covering these tragic instances.
and we live in a world now where the police get questioned about a lot of things. And again, I work for you, and I'm a company man. So go to our website where I work at abc6onyourside.com. tons of coverage today about the shooting.
Right, and in the days coming up, I'm sure they'll have the memorial service, the funeral covered well too.
Yeah, but I will say, in case you're not looking there, the police officer did what he had to do. I mean, he had to go. He was threatened by the man that ended up shooting him. But what do you do? I mean, you have to do what you do. That's part of what you do as police officers. You have to be there. You have to try to rectify the situation. Um,
Right, it's part of his job.
yeah, and
And
I read the report. They sent out the report from the courts, and the guy was pretty much like, "Hey, if you want to live, you better get out of here." The guy said the deputy, but the deputy's got to stay. I mean, and obviously the deputy wanted to live, but he was doing his job. And whatever you think about police, I'm not always in agreement with everything the police do. Look, these guys have a hard job, and they do.
And who knows? That deputy did save a life.
Yeah,
The guy was itching to kill somebody, and he might have killed his spouse or the girlfriend or whoever he was
right.
mad at, and he just turned his anger at the officer instead of the other person.
And I will say too, and again, we live in a world where even the media gets questioned about some of the things. It's good to have the media there because remember, your tax dollars pay for what happens. Uh, they pay for first responders and everything. So it's good to have the media there to report what happened. I know we live in a world where each department has their social media, so they can put out some information themselves. But look, the media kind of helps get the information out there. And it's a good watchdog to make sure things happen the way they were said, make sure people handle themselves appropriately. And it's a good way of just gauging how the community is reacting to it. Because right now, the police department, believe me, from the experiences I have, my dad would tell me about his, in Massillon, working with the police department after shooting there. They don't want to talk to the media. They want to talk to the public. And that's one of the things the media can do is just provide context and really provide coverage. Because I know down here a lot of people just want to get more information. And not that they're worried, but they're worried and they care, and they want to see how to help and other stuff like that. So,
Right.
we in the media, there's a really good and important role we play in all of this. So, yeah, prayers go out to the officer, his family of fellow officers
And
down
yes, the fellow officers also who will be, in kind of difficult days in doing their job for
there.
at least the next couple of months.
And the community. I mean, I used to work down in Morrow
Right.
County. It's a very rural area. Sometimes, like you think, oh, in the big cities, stuff like this happens all the time. This
No,
doesn't happen
this is
there.
small
Yeah.
towns in Morrow County.
Yeah, so we'll think, just thoughts go out to them, kind of moving ahead. And again, you're going to see a lot of coverage, but that coverage, people need to know, they want to know. And right now, especially in 2025, we react in the media based on what people, um, to put it crassly, are clicking on. Like
Right.
what are people looking for? And believe me, right now, people are looking for information about that. And it's on us, the media, to do it in a responsible way. So, and again, I can't speak for every media because I haven't looked at every other media, but I'm really impressed at what ABC6, my station's done so far. So, very good. All right. Well, again, we are separating this out into separate segments. So we got a bunch more segments from me and Guy. Stay tuned and give us a like and subscribe. It gets our word out to more people. Have a great day.